In today's video, I want to share 4 things that I have learned the hard way about criteria for selecting the right campsite. And that applies whether you're street camping, you're boondocking, you're in a commercial RV park, or you're in a state park like I am now in Michigan. And the final remedy may actually surprise you. Let's go. Tuning in today, really appreciate that. My name is Scott. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Go Small, Live Large. YouTube channel dedicated to Class B, that would be a camper van. Lifestyle, been living in my van since February 2019, continuous. No medals for living in a van, just the way I choose to rock and roll because there's so much to see in this amazing country of ours. So what I wanted to share with you is how tough it is to actually get a sense of the site until you arrive. Because typically you get one of these things online or in the paper format. There's site 121, which is what I actually scheduled, made a reservation for, and I'm actually in that site right now. Let me share with you rule number 1 on having a great campsite. This would be a site example that I would not want. It has a really steep incline, but problem number 1 is it's in the full sun in the brightness of the day. Same with this one right here. The challenge is, I'll zoom out for you, it is in the full sun all day long. This one has the same problem as does this one. And the sun in a van is your number 1 enemy. They are not nearly as insulated in most cases as the bigger RVs. And to have a van, whether it's light colored or dark colored, in the baking sun, 85-degree heat, and like 80% humidity, the AC internally just cannot keep up with it, and you're gonna have a miserable temperature experience on the inside because the van can't stay cool because you're parked in the sunlight. So these 3 sites would be a no-no right off the gate. So that would be my number 1 concern upon rolling into a site, is assessing the sun situation. So very important to stay out of the sunlight. Now, some of you may disagree with me. If you're trying to harvest solar to charge an energy system so you can run your AC, unless you have a lithium system, you really should be going after shore power, again, so you can plug in that AC and use that resource correctly versus baking in the sun. So what do you think of that, right? Stay out of the sun. Rule number 2 is, I don't want to see RVs. Let me show you from this vantage point, this campsite that I originally had a reservation for and why I moved. And that is, I don't want to see RVs. Look at this. Welcome to campsite 121, which, by the way, had a really far away utility pole. See this thing back here? Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, you want to see how you deal with a really long way away utility pole, because a standard RV cord would not fit or would not make it this distance to the site. But what I want to call out here is what I don't like to see. Oh, that bug is kind of joining us. Hello, sir. What I don't want to see when I'm in a campsite is RVs. And you can see here, we are surrounded by RVs. And if I was parked here backed in, this would be what I'd be looking at. This would be out my patio door, and I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to be in a fishbowl, which they'd all be looking at me in my cool van, parked in this space right here. I don't want that at all. So rule number 2 is, I don't want to see RVs in an RV park as much as possible, or certainly a state park like this. The third criteria I have is to have a level spot and no trees above me. Let me show you this site, 121, my originally scheduled reserved site. Now, it's a little tough here to see in the video, I'm sure, but the parking pad is actually pretty level. It does have a slight grade, which is okay. It's been raining, so having water run off the roof is good. It did have all this stuff above me though. Again, hard to see on the video, which meant I had to back in at a really weird angle to avoid all the trees. I'm not comfortable with that at all. And while it's kind of in the shade here, again, the biggest thing for me was seeing all my neighbors. And the 4th thing we've already talked about a little bit is access to the utility pole. And this thing is a long way away. We showed how we solved that in the other video, which is you need 4 components, 2 adapters, 2 cables, and that's how you solve that. That's kind of the least of my worry. Certainly if I'm staying for a very short duration, my 3 bigger concerns are sunlight, as in being in the shade, looking at my neighbors, and leveling. So you want to know my remedy? If I don't like my site, I get off my bike, park where I'm currently have a reservation for, and then I get on my bike and I start scouting sites that are better suited to my purposes. Shade being number 1, privacy, can't see my neighbors number 2, leveling number 3, and then utility access. So in this case, what I did is I grabbed the map right there, and I rode my bike around so I could scope out what site I actually wanted, and I found the perfect one. Let me show you. And that would be site 131. And here's why I like this one. It checks off 3 of the 4. Yeah, I can check off 3 of the 4 criteria with this site. And again, what I did is I rode my bike around looking at those 4 criteria. Number 1, the sun. You can see it's shining bright up here, but it's pretty shady right here at my campsite, which is awesome. Number 2 is privacy. Look at this. Where are my neighbors? The view from my rig is of this. I cannot really see anybody. And that's why I'm actually staying in a state park, so I don't have to see anybody, right? Sure beats the other view, right? Now, I will be honest, this site is not super level, and I could have jockeyed this a little bit, but what I was trying to do is get out of the sun and off the beaten path. People don't even know I'm back here, which is pretty cool. So there's a little bit of a leveling issue. I'm okay with that for a few days, not a big deal. And the power utility issue is, this is where the utility pole is. I've had to use 2 adapters, a 50-foot extension cord, 10 gauge, and the cord that comes with the van to plug into shore power, which then is on this side of the van. I've thrown the cord under the van so that it will reach and plug in. That's kind of the least of my issues, is the utility pole, because I have the proper equipment to make that happen in most cases. Hey, if you're getting anything out of this, I sure appreciate a thumb up. Comment below. Are these tips helpful at all? What tips do you have? I certainly don't know everything. That's what we do here. We learn together, we share together, and then you decide what's the best way to roll for you. Subscribe to the channel, please. We are growing like crazy right now. We are taking you all kinds of places. Route 66 is just coming up. We're doing van tours, and we have a whole bunch of stuff in store for you. And if you're into RVing, if you're into vans, you don't want to miss any of that. Check out my website, GoSmallLiveLarge.com. Got a bunch of content there you won't see on YouTube. We have events. We do channel roundups, as they call them. We even have vanborees, campouts together, yes. And we are meeting you as I travel around, even having you join me for portions of the trip. So go to GoSmallLiveLarge.com, get all the latest there. Instagram, another great place. I post videos there daily that you'll never see on YouTube, because it's a little easier maybe, and it'd be an honor for you to do that. Share your email address and get 2 newsletters per month on places we're going, tips and tricks and things, again, you won't see on YouTube. So again, the remedy you may be surprised about is I go to the office, I tell them where I am, why I don't like that site, and what sites are available. Here's my suggestions. I hand them my list, and we start checking off, are those sites available for the duration of my stay? And if not, I can maybe stay in this site like I am for 3 nights, and then I'm actually moving one site over for 1 night. Hello, big bug. The camp staff is usually pretty good about moving me someplace that kind of meets my criteria. I am not bashful about this anymore, ladies and gentlemen. I have suffered, and I didn't like it, and I kind of cursed that I was not being more bold. And I might have to stay 1 night in my site. I'm okay with that. But if I'm staying someplace for 3 to 5 days, I want to be happy in my site. So again, I just go to the staff, say, here's why I don't like it. Here's some options. What's the availability like? And they're usually pretty good. Now, I may have to pay more or less for that campsite. In most cases, it's about a wash. So that's okay. I'd much rather be happier in my campsite than being miserable trying to save a few bucks, or just cursing the whole time I'm there because it really sucks. If things really are not great, I actually leave. I request a refund and I leave, and I go find a Cracker Barrel for the night, and I reset my expectations on finding a campground that do meet my needs, the best I can tell from online sources, make reservations, and check that out the next day. So again, I am not bashful about asking to move me and or leave altogether with a refund. Now, if a lot of times you cannot leave without forfeiting 1 night, so I'll stick it out 1 night. By the next day, I'm off to a better camping experience. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Again, it's really been learned the hard way, and let me tell you, it's really made a big difference as I travel around. So tip number 1, stay out of the sunlight, pick a campsite with shade. Tip number 2 is don't want to see your RV neighbors, campgrounds are kind of cool, but man, I just don't want to see them, right? And rule number 3 is leveling. That's pretty important. And the 4th thing is closeness to the utilities. That's kind of my least of my worries because I got the proper equipment. So make sure you have the proper equipment. Until we see you soon, I wish you to journey on. See you later.